Happy birthday. Oh, I'm live. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Miriam, and my brother Anthony. Happy birthday to you. And if you have a birthday today online, happy birthday to you as well. And it's good to be with you. My name is Reverend Michael McMorrow. I am the senior minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, which is in the North San Fernando Valley in Southern California. And we welcome all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. And you are here for the Wednesday night Get Real and Heal meditation. And so we're just, for this 2021, we've been doing a little warm-up. So we're just going to do some light twisting. And so I guess I should say, you want to keep your eyes forward for this, because the idea is you're keeping your head and your neck stable while you're just allowing the trunk. And as you feel called to, you can go with a little deeper twist, like you did last summer. Yeah. Yeah, so, well, I had a birthday on Saturday, so I guess it's Virgo City around here. So any words of wisdom for us tonight, Miriam? Hope, love, peace, joy, and what was the last one? Flexibility, yes. Yeah, and grateful to be on the right side of the grass. Okay, so now we've loosened up the trunk. Let's move the neck around a little bit. So I'm going to stand behind the chair just to keep my shoulders kind of square, and then we're just going to gently look to the right, or pick a direction. To the side. And then we're going to release and look forward, and then gently go to the side. And just take a couple breaths, and just release it. Release the day. And then to the center. And then to the side. So I don't know about you, but I definitely have better range of motion one way. Eyes center. Now the other way. So for me, the left shows a little less flexibility. Release. Eyes forward. To the right.
Just the opposite for me.
Yeah. So I don't know why that is. I'm right-handed, so I suppose that's it. So eyes straight. Now we're gonna look up. And allow yourself a stretch here. And exhale, eyes forward, and now allow your head to drop. Just gently let your chin into your chest. And eyes forward and looking up. And again, feel a stretch. And let's take a couple breaths here. And eyes forward, gently down into the chest again. Eyes forward, and then to the right one more time. And you can probably get a little more out of that now. And release. And to the other side. and release. All right. So let's do a couple more little trunks. Now, can you feel your neck released a little bit? Just hanging on the computer, man. Just doing that stuff all day, or even just on the phone. All right, so let's do some side bends now. Or, I'm sorry, we're going to do some forward folds. So you can either do this standing if you're a regular yoga practitioner. And for the rest of us, yeah, I'm demonstrating. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so let's take a deep breath. Arms up. And, we're keeping our arms in the shoulders, and then we're just gently, very gently, with a flat back, just allowing our arms to drop in front of us. And just as far as you can go, we're not forcing anything. And taking a breath on the way up. And then exhaling down. Taking a couple breaths here. And breathing on the way up. Palms facing inward to each other. Taking a couple breaths. And try and lift your rib. Feel your ribs lift up off the waist when you breathe. And then exhale down. Very gently. Straight back. And see if you can just allow a little stretch in the back. All right. Tuck in those tummy muscles, breathing on the way up. And exhale. And tuck in the tummy, and down we go. Exhale. And let that head drop a little bit. Okay, tuck the tummy and breathing up. Exhale, hands to the waist. All right, so left hand down, palm facing forward. Right hand on the hip. We're going to take a breath. And we're going to look through the armpit to the side. And lift that waist and stretch that side. So if you've been doing this, you probably feel a little more range and motion because we rolled the neck first. Okay, release. Then the right hand down, palm facing forward, taking a breath. And looking to the side. And just feel the release. And what we're doing here is we're activating. Release. Hand on the hip, right hand on the hip, left hand down. We're activating, arms up. Activating the body, which actually helps with our concentration and focus when we meditate. Breathing. Exhale down, hand on the hip, right hand facing down, or right hand down facing forward, taking a breath, looking to the side, release. All right. Now just roll the neck very gently. Just pick a side. And then stop when you get to the center, eyes forward, and go reverse. And of course, we want to breathe through all of this. And just take it as slow as you like. Now I have to say, when I do this, it sounds like crumpled paper. Okay, reversing. But it does feel good. All right, eyes forward. And let's stand one more time and have a few more twists. Just sigh it out. Yeah, just release a day. Let's do one more of those. Deep breath. And sigh it out. Yes. And let's do one more, only this time we're going to breathe in Miriam's birthday with her. Okay, ready? And exhale. The sweetness of being celebrated by people who love you. Nothing better. Yeah, well, considering the alternative. All right, so we're going to make our way to the cushion. So I turned 65.
Did you?
I turned 65, I did, on Saturday.
I'm 1 year younger than you.
So we spent the day playing around with Medicare. Nothing makes you grateful like free medical care until you realize you had to turn 65 to get it. But
They told me to apply for it before 6 months before.
yeah, well, that's because you're on top of things. And so am I going to take my seat here? Okay, very good. So that's a lovely waterfall that you're looking at there from County Tipperary, which is in Ireland, in case you don't know. And if you're in Granada Hills, it's a long way to Tipperary. Yeah. So 65, I have to say I was feeling a little glum about the whole thing. And then I realized I have a good chance of making it to 75, and then 65 is going to look really young. So I'll just, right? Haven't we done that? Haven't we done that through our whole, like we can't wait till we're 21 and then all of a sudden you're 65. Well, I remember it happened. I don't know that I actually remember 21, except the bartenders were really mad that I was asking them for drinks when I'd been in there for a year. So, yeah, facial hair. When you're young, you want to look older, and then when you're older, you want to look younger. See, life, man, life. It's crazy, isn't it? And yet here we are. And one of the great things about meditation is appreciation, right? So let's just, Mike's going to get us set up with a little background music, and we're going to take a deep breath together and release as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. And fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So the first candle we light is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center, within our online community, and within our own hearts. And as we light the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I trust in God.
So on the exhale, we just allow ourselves to surrender to this moment, this eternal now moment, recognizing and knowing that there is but one thing going on here, God and nothing else. And so as we all release our attachment to ideas to what that may look like, we just allow ourselves to surrender to the experience of an indwelling peace, of harmony. Taking a breath, releasing the cares and concerns of the day and the cares and concerns of the world, and just allow ourselves to be here now. And so, from this place of conscious unity with the One, each within our own understanding of how that is, I declare for each one listening that we, even as we set our intention for this healing meditation this evening, we are releasing any attachment to form. We are releasing any curiosity about what's next. and just simply giving ourselves permission to be. Taking a breath and feel that release. And in that release, we're just releasing this word to that aspect of the mind of the divine from which all things are created and emanate. We release it, we let it go, and let it be so in gratitude. And acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So, as many of you know, I come from a military family. And so when we have a week like the one that we've just witnessed, of course, all of us are affected in some way. And outside of the machinations of mind, the machinations of story around this thing, we just take a moment just to acknowledge the tragic loss of life of the servicemen and women who were killed last week, and also for those who were killed and those who are suffering still. And so for people of faith, it's kind of hard to make sense of these kinds of things, particularly if you're someone like myself who's just had a 65th birthday. And you're like, wow, man, the more things change, the more there's, we're still doing this kind of stuff. And so what I know about all this is that it becomes even more important for us to stick with our spiritual practice, of which meditation is part of it. Because what I know about this in a very real way is that there can be no peace out there if there's not peace in here. That I have to be the change I wish to see in the world. And this is one of the benefits that I have received from meditation, because even though I can be a fellow who can get stirred up over things, still today, it's so much better than it used to be. And I attribute that to, a regular practice. I should say to be more on an irregular meditation practice, but it still is a practice. And so if you can relate to that, and what I know for you and for me is that we can recommit every day to take some time. If we don't have the time to actually sit and do meditation in a formal way, we can just grab time through the day, 2, 3, 5 minutes here and there, to just be still and to go within and to touch that place within us that knows only peace and harmony. And if 51% of the planet engaged in that activity, that would be a shift in consciousness. And so that's why it's important that we continue to do it, and also to remember that we are together in consciousness, affecting change for good whenever we turn our attention in this way. Now, if you think about what we were talking about last week in the chapter Our Real Existence, member in the book Infinite Way with Joel Goldsmith, he was comparing different scriptures. And he was talking about fulfilling the great teaching of love thy neighbor as thyself. And then only are we glimpsing the kingdom of God, the temple not made with hands, the man and universe of God's creating. And it is this spiritual man, the man of God's creating, who has been given dominion over all the world, over all the earth. So what Goldsmith is reminding us is that, underneath the cares and concerns of the egoic life, that there is the perfect life of God ready for expression. And so he goes on to say this week that there is no mystery about the inner life except the mystery of godliness. For every thinker is concerned for his welfare, for the welfare of his family and community, for his country, or even for the world. Experience soon convinces him that there is no hope for mankind in the people or the powers of the world, that men are too selfish. On the whole, they are too occupied and concerned with their own interests to be wholly unselfish in their attitude toward the world. Right? So this is the trap of the flesh, if you will. The more ambitious are often endowed with greater physical or mental attainments, and soon sit in the seats of the mighty, and the world is led by those lacking integrity and love. This is Goldsmith saying this, not me. Saying this in the 50s. Politicians rarely rise any higher than self-seeking, and the occasional statesman is lost in the picture. Here and there in the world, there are those inspired men and women who long for the dawn of the day of the brotherhood of man. Their hearts ache at the constant ridicule of men of goodwill and the ever recurring success of the power-drunk or money-mad in each succeeding generation. These noble people of vision are buffeted between their hope for the progress of mankind and the realization of the futility of overcoming the forces of evil operating in human thought. Eventually, the same question comes to each one: is there no power to stop this reign of evil, to halt wars, to prevent famine and pestilence? Is man, Joel Goldsmith asks, a very spiritual dude, is man helpless before the four horsemen? Of course, he's referring to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And then he has this observation: the search for freedom from the trials and tribulations of human experience has begun. It is really a search for God, and it begins at whatever place in consciousness the individual may find themselves. If he has a deep religious sense with a church background, he may seek the power in religious worship, in some creed or dogma or some particular form of worship. The intellectual will undoubtedly seek the power in the realm of philosophy, or one or another of the philosophical religious teachings, of which I would say we are one. In more recent times, the search may turn to the metaphysical church teachings or Oriental yoga practices. Without doubt, many go from one to another of these steps, still seeking God or the power which may eventually halt the reign of mortality. So here's his point. One day, something happens within. Let's take a deep breath on that. that day can be right now. Consciousness expands and sees that which before was invisible. One feels a flow of warmth. A presence never before known becomes tangible, very real. And this is often a fleeting experience. One may not even be certain that it has occurred. It lingers in memory, but more as a dream than an actuality until it happens again, and this time, more clearly, more definite, perhaps lasting longer. This is why we stay with our meditation practice, right? Gradually there dawns in consciousness the realization of a presence always present. This presence may be felt as if lurking in the background of one's consciousness. At times it becomes a very commanding presence dominating the scene or experience of the moment. And he goes on to say, I'm going to keep reading this. Now, however, evil is becoming less real when we're in this place, right? Sickness is not as acute. Financial stress or even lack gradually gives way to sufficiency. Concern for oneself disappears as every need is met without taking thought or planning or worry or fear. The people or powers which heretofore have been feared now fade from view and either disappear from one's experience or else are seen for their powerlessness. Desires become less acute. Fears evaporate. Assurance, confidence, alertness, keenness. These become evident not only to oneself, but to those who are met and dealt with in everyday life. And I'm going to just put a big amen and an exclamation point on all of that, because that has been my experience. And it's why I'm very grateful, frankly, for this place. This little shtetl, as my friend Shana calls our little place here. This little spiritual center where people have been praying into this space since 1978. That, we have, this teaching is actually pretty simple, but it takes some focus. It does take focus, and it does take time. And so let's practice that right now. And thank you for listening. That was a powerful reading tonight. So let's just take a deep breath and release. And in that release, just feel ourselves releasing, disengaging from the world. Focusing our attention on the breath. Focusing our attention on the movement of the breath in the nostril. And as we focus on the breath, we see the mind begins to still. And if we get caught by a thought that turns into a thread, we just acknowledge thinking And then just take a deep breath. And then release it. If we feel some discomfort, we can take a deep breath and breathe into that spot and then feel the release on the exhale. Let's take a deep breath one more time together. And release. Focus the breath on the inhale as we move into the silence now for about 15 minutes. Bringing our attention gently back into the room, staying with the breath. Picture with me a flame of the divine within our heart center, that spark of the divine, and that with each in-breath we are fanning that flame. Focusing on the out breath. So this flame now that glowing ember of the seed of the soul, that the divine itself that is now radiating light with each breath, casting off a light that radiates, illumines rather than consumes. We're breathing in the light of the divine, commingling with the light within, releasing that which is no longer needed, just released as easily as an exhale. Breathing in light and exhaling love. Breathing in light and exhaling love. And so now this ball of light that we have in the heart center continues to expand with each in-breath. Expanding and contracting in the same way that you would inflate a balloon. We are allowing the indwelling spirit to expand, to express, to radiate its healing light within. That this light is now extending beyond our torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom, that we're now sitting in this globe of healing, light, and love. That we are feeling the energetic at an atomic level and expanding even beyond the body, connecting with all of our brothers and sisters on this call within this room. Breathing in light and exhaling love. So we feel the expansion in the chest. We feel an activation at an atomic level that we are vibrating with, attuning with a pattern of perfection within. So that every atom, every molecule, every cell, every organ, every muscle, every bone, every sinew is activated by this pattern of perfection that is the consciousness of the one Spirit, the indwelling Spirit. We are consciously aligning and attuning with this divine song. And as we have tuned ourselves up now, that we consider those with whom we know are struggling in any way, that we are now knowing this attunement for them as well. So that we know for Cammie and Judith and Valerie and Eileen, for Michael, that there is an attunement with the divine song within, as we recognize and know together that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life, one light of the divine that is both impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as our manifest life, the life of ourselves and the life that we share with others. That we are knowing that this light of the divine is resonating from within to without. That we are feeling an attunement, a connection with life itself. So that any of the cares and concerns which we've brought with us this evening, that we know that all of it now, we're just releasing all of it, taking a deep breath and releasing all of it into this field of light and love, that we are releasing Miriam and my brother Anthony into this next year of adventure for their own lives. That we are releasing ourselves, casting ourselves adrift on this stream of divine right action, knowing that we live, move, and have our being in divine love, expressing. So we take a deep breath and release that with deep, deep gratitude. Grateful for the many blessings in our life. Grateful that we have places like this to be with each other, to witness the truth for each other and within ourselves. Just feel the resonance of that. And then we take this into the rest of our evening as we prepare ourselves for bed. We hit the pillow tonight. We sleep deeply and restfully, dreaming sweet dreams, that we awaken feeling refreshed, revitalized, with a sense of zest, of vim and vigor, as we step into the day with an excitement of discovering the handiwork of the divine at work in our life. Taking a deep breath and releasing all of that now, knowing that it's being released to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes as the perfect love and law of its own being. Yes, my beloved, yes, in you I am well pleased. So we release it, we let it go, allow it to be so, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So I do want to thank you for indulging me with that lengthy section. So if you have this book at home, The Infinite Way, and you want to check that out, That was pages 70 through 72. And I know I will be reading that throughout the rest of this week. Don't be surprised if you hear about it a little bit on Sunday. And so you can join us here on this channel at 10:30 on Sunday mornings. You can also join us here on Wednesday night. You don't need a reservation. You're welcome to join us. And you can also join us on Sundays. You do need a pre-registration. It's super easy. And it's just we're trying to keep the number down to about 20 in here. But there's plenty of room. So come join us. Just pre-register. And please be on time or you won't be able to get in. All right. So just until then, peace and blessings. Know that you're loved. And I will see you next time. So long.